Imagine this. One of the hardest and toughest subjects to talk about is the word layoffs. Because when we're talking about layoffs, it's not just affecting the workers directly, it actually has a snowball effect. There's an old saying, once you pull one lever, you have to realize what levers are getting pulled along with it. Just because you pulled one doesn't mean it only has one effect. It can have a downhill effect, an avalanche type of effect. And what I'm referring to is the RV industry, specifically on the manufacturing side and the dealership side, have been basically getting to the point where they're having a huge contraction of brands. There's a lot of people being laid off. And this has been happening over the last 12 to 18 months. It's not something that's brand new and fresh, but it's something that has slowly been creeping up. Little here, little there, and it looks like it might actually get into this bigger subject that might affect not only the workers, not only the dealers, but also affect the consumers as well. And if you're wondering why it would affect the consumers, we're going to talk about that very deep here today. So, welcome to HB RV Lifestyle, the podcast. I'm the host, the Honey Badger, sitting in a recliner in a used travel trailer, hanging out, talking to you, giving you the things you need to know transparently and directly. No gimmicks, no corporate RV dealership, nothing of that nature. Just you and I having this chat because it's difficult. And I want to give Josh, the RV nerd, a lot of credit here because Josh is one of the few corporate guys that actually is willing and able to really discuss in depth about layoffs and contractions. Now, there's things he can't cover and there's things he cannot say because he is a part of a conglomerate that has a legal department. They can't piss off OEMs, they can't piss off manufacturers. So there's certain things that he cannot say. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But he's one of the few guys that actually will talk about these subjects. So, I do want to give him credit where credit's due. So for those of you that always think that I hate him, I don't hate anybody. Just so everybody knows, I don't hate Liz Amazing. I don't hate Wingman Wisdom. I don't hate anybody. There's two people I very much dislike, and Josh, the RV nerd, is not one of them. Okay. So where I really want to talk about first is when it comes to these layoffs that everybody's discussing, this has basically the last leg of a contraction that occurred because of the COVID boom. If you actually go pre-COVID numbers, pre-COVID shipments, pre-COVID retails, we actually are ahead of the game in a lot of respects. But let's also remember that you had brands expanding in bigger roles because there was no inventory during COVID. So that's the context that people are missing out on. You also had a lot of dealerships across the United States and Canada that sold to big conglomerates. We're going to use Camping World and Funtown RV as an example. Funtown RV has expanded dramatically since COVID, soaking up small dealers. You have Camping World has absorbed a lot of dealerships and has actually converted some of those dealerships to be certain manufacturer exclusive like Airstream and Jayco. So our reality is that because these conglomerates are getting bigger, their goal, if you actually look at Camping World, you look at General RV, you look at Blue Compass, you look at Campers Inn, you look at Bish's, these guys, if they're going to have a nationwide brand, a national branding, they're going to want to carry a lot of products on the lots that are the same brand, same manufacturer, same general manager, same program. And you're going to see a lot of these smaller brands that were booming during COVID because there was no inventory. They're contracting either to nothing and being absorbed by a bigger brand within the same company, aka Heartland being absorbed by Jayco as an example under the Thor umbrella. And by the way, there's going to be, don't be surprised, guys, there's going to be 4 or 5 brands that are going to completely go away in the next 2 years. Okay, it's just a fact of life. So the reality is that these conglomerates are contracting the brands that they're carrying on their lot to try to fit a more uniform style of inventory. So if you take a look, yeah, you'll have some onesies, twosies, like we're going to use Brinkley RV as an example. So you have some Blue Compass company dealerships that have Brinkley and some that don't, right? But it's not onesie twosies. Grand Design RV is not on every single general RV lot across the United States, but they're on a lot of them, right? So there's certain things that are slowly coming into play that are creating this contraction. We are actually up in retail sales. We're actually up in wholesale shipments for the most part compared to last year. We're actually growing as an industry, both new and used, compared to the downturn, compared to prior to COVID. But the problem is everybody compares everything to 2020, 2021, and the first half of 2022 before interest rates just went through the roof. Layoffs were going to happen. Contraction was going to happen because, again, one of the things that's not talked about, and it's not talked about because not a lot of people have the education, but less than 1%, this is where percentages come into play, less than 1% of the United States population will buy an RV every single year. You have new people that come in. So let's say there's 300 million people that live in the United States. Less than 3 million people will buy an RV. So if you go look at history, history shows us that the sweet spot for the RV manufacturers is between 300,000 units built and 420,000 units built. That's the sweet spot where everybody's making a little bit of money. Prices and quality are pretty okay. And things are moving. It also keeps the used market kind of stable instead of the roller coaster ride it's been on for the last 5 years. I mean, it's been on this like hellhole. So the reality is that there are some people that are in the RV market to buy one this year that won't for financial reasons. Maybe there's something that came up in life. Maybe they listen too much to the knuckleheads on the internet that want to bitch and complain about quality. Maybe there are just certain things that occur that change the way we look at things or change the momentum of where we're going to go. Maybe you don't have a truck yet, but you want to see a towable. Maybe you want to live in a fifth wheel, but the cost of a truck and a fifth wheel combined is way too much money right now. Maybe when interest rates go down, maybe when prices stabilize on the truck side of things, etc. So out of that 3 million people, 300,000 are actually going to buy. That's new. Used, probably another 100,000, 120,000. So realistically, only between only 350 and 450,000 people buy an RV a year. That's the norm. COVID was not normal. COVID was absolutely not normal. Okay. Now, some of the interesting things that will happen is quality will actually probably go up as they contract because now you're going to take workers and they're going to be able to build on a more consistent basis. Let's remember that quality has been the same for 50 freaking years. Nothing's really changed. And if you want to see a video on that, you can look. I got a surprise for you at the end. I'll give you a little preview into that. But the reality is quality's been the same. Technology's gotten better. And I said this yesterday in my August RV industry update. I'm not a fan of Brinkley. I'm not a fan of Brinkley because of their marketing strategy, not because of the coach. The coach leaks. Let's face it, their seals package sucks, just the way it is. But, and here's the but, I would take any 2024, 2025, and 2025 Brinkley, put it up against any Teton, any Carriage, anything, any Beaver. I would take any Brinkley RV that I'm not a fan of and put up against anything that was built between 1995 and 2007 before the industry crashed, before the economy crashed during '08. And I would take a Brinkley travel trailer or a Brinkley fifth wheel over anything built in that time period or anything built before that time period, because the construction of the unit is much better. Even Brinkley follows the simple guidelines and simple prospects of how RVs are manufactured and laminated, and they still look, you still look at how they seal the underbelly. You still look at the technology that has increased between solar, 12 volt, 12 volt and residential refrigerators. You look at axles, you look at wiring. Now, I said this yesterday, I will agree with people when they say that the plumbing was better in the 90s. And I will agree with you that the cabinetry was way better in the 1960s all the way to the 1990s. I will give you that. But let's remember that the real cabinetry that was used back then, there wasn't slide outs, there wasn't big heavy refrigerators, there wasn't solar, air conditioners were smaller, there was less in the coach. Okay. So while, again, I'm going to use Brinkley as an example, Brinkley's cabinetry isn't the best quality in the universe. That shouldn't matter because everybody uses some form of lightweight cabinetry. Rockwood Flagstaff, Palomino Puma, Arctic Fox with Northwood Manufacturing, Outdoors RV. These guys don't use real wood on every single cabinet. They use some real wood facing, but not real wood cabinetry. So quality will get better and stabilize with these layoffs because it's just going to be a contraction. There's going to be a contraction of Camping Worlds. There's going to be a contraction of Blue Compasses. There's going to be a contraction of a lot of corporations that over exceeded their whimsy. I mean, I understand. I'm not against what Camping World did at all. I'm not against what Marcus Lemonis did. I'm not against what the Blue Compass team did. Not against expansion at all. I think that a lot of these big corporations, though, got a little too big for their britches because you're starting to see that a lot of the smaller guys that got out are getting back in. And they're getting back in markets that they got out of and being very successful. So, for those of you that think that the RV market is slow, nobody's selling anything, everything's sitting on lots, come down to the lot I work at. We are struggling to get inventory. We sell it faster than we can get it in. Okay. Yes, you are absolutely right. There's a lot of Camping World type of stores that are so full of inventory and it doesn't look like anything's moved. But there are a lot of dealerships across the United States and Canada that are doing so well that's not even funny. There are dealerships that I talk to over the phone that are Brinkley, Grand Design, Winnebago, Newmar, Tiffin, all kinds of dealers. And they are doing well overall. They're not selling as many Solitudes because of the whole frame thing that went on. They're not selling as many Brinkleys, mostly because of price and fear of flooding and water intrusion, all that stuff. But those two brands are still doing well. And they should do well. Everybody thinks I hate Brinkley. I hope Brinkley does well. I hope Brinkley really doesn't sell. Because at the end of the day, if you could prove to me if Alliance and Genesis and all these independents stay independent and don't get into it to sell like their investor friends usually do, congratulations. You actually are benefiting the RV world and the RV industry. Now, sitting in your $200,000 car with a few $1,000,000 in the bank, bitching and complaining and crybabying about people are picking on you and calling people blowhards, That's not helpful to the industry. That's just showing what a crybaby little you know what you are. That's all it tells anybody. I mean, it makes you the laughing stock of the industry. The only people that will come to your rescue are people that are so sympathetic to your brand instead of strengthening and going, no, I'm 200% confident that our seals package will get better over the years, that our frame problem will get better over the years, that our slide problem will get better over the years, that our new innovation is whatever type of furnace or type of air conditioner or whatever the case may be, we're trying new things. I'd rather see people tell me we're not perfect, we're far from perfect, and we're a work in progress than hear, no, we only less than 1% of stuff fails. I mean, that's just horse manure and horse crap. We all know it. But the layoffs and the contraction will increase quality because there's going to be more consistent. So let's use Forest River as an example. I'll pick on Forest River for a little bit, okay? So your Forest River products, let's say, and heaven forbid, they can beat me up later. We're going to use Flagstaff and Rockwood, something I sell. So let's say Flagstaff and Rockwood's quality just goes to shit, okay? Well, normally if it goes to shit, it's usually because they're not building enough or they're building too many. There's a sweet spot with every single manufacturer, every single brand, whether it's Brinkley, Grand Design, Genesis Supreme, Newmar, Tiffin, doesn't matter. There's a sweet spot of how many coaches are built per day where quality is at its best. For example, best example would be, let's say that Winnebago travel trailers, Winnebago micro minis. Let's say the sweet spot is 18 a day. If they're building 18 a day, that's when the quality is the best. The minute you start only building 12 a day, and then the minute you go from 12 a day to 25 a day, then you go from 25 a day to 10 a day, that inconsistency bleeds bad quality. And I was taught that by Pete Legal over at Forest River before he passed away. I mean, he taught me that 7-8 years ago. So just have a realization that the layoffs are a bad thing and they are going to affect a lot of things. They're going to make prices actually go up because there's going to be less production. There's going to be a harder time to actually find certain brands with certain floor plans. There's going to be some problems to it. But at the same time, I think overall it will be good for the industry because I think that it won't last long. These people will find jobs in the industry. These people will come back. I'm pretty sure, let's say Grand Design starts getting bigger again now that they've kind of got the ball rolling on certain things. They're going to hire more people. Let's say another independent shows up. Let's say another independent shows up in parts of Michigan or Elkhart and decides to open up another factory. There's a lot of things that are very beneficial that can happen. And I believe overall we will get better. And I think the industry overall is trending in the right direction. I know a lot of people don't feel like that, and you are more than happy to argue with me. You're not going to win the argument because you're not in the industry and you're listening to a bunch of Reddit and Quora guys that just have nothing better to do than bitch and complain. And if all you believe is all the negativity online, then Liz Amazing is your channel. Just go over there and go tell how proud you are of her to attacking the RV industry, and just go deal with negative Nancy over there. Okay? If you want actual direct information, if you can't handle me picking on Brinkley or Grand Design or Forest River or Keystone, if you can't stand me picking on people at the same time, then you need to go see Josh the RV Nerd or somebody that's, oh my God, everything's so innovative. Oh my God, I've never seen it before. Everything's so great and wonderful. I'm just not your guy. And I know that. And it doesn't make me mad or upset. So until next time, we'll see you.